What's up, horror fans? Before we dive into today's absolutely terrifying story, make sure you smash that subscribe button if you're into real horror experiences, mysterious encounters, and stories that'll keep you up at night. Trust me, you're gonna want to follow this channel after hearing what I'm about to tell you. So picture this: you're broke, your brother's in rehab, and you desperately need money. A gas station job paying $40 an hour shows up out of nowhere. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, as our main character Miguel discovered, sometimes those dream jobs turn into absolute nightmares. Miguel Reyes was just a regular guy from Phoenix, Arizona. 24 years old, worked as a mechanic, and was doing everything he could to pay for his brother Danny's rehabilitation. Danny had been struggling with addiction for years, and Miguel had even taken the fall for stealing a car to pay off Danny's dealer. Something Danny still didn't know about. When Miguel saw the job posting for Coyote Fuel & Go, a gas station out on Highway 160 in the middle of the Navajo Nation, he couldn't believe the pay. $30 an hour for a night shift at a gas station? In the middle of nowhere. It seemed too good to pass up. The station sat completely isolated 30 miles from the nearest town, surrounded by nothing but red rock mesas and desert as far as the eye could see. The kind of place where your cell phone has no signal and the darkness feels like it has weight. Hank Yazzie was the owner, a weathered Native American man with silver hair and turquoise jewelry. He seemed normal enough, but there was something in his eyes, like he was carrying a secret that was slowly eating him alive. Night shift's not for everyone, Hank told Miguel during their brief meeting. Last 3 guys quit within a week. Miguel should have asked why. He should have walked away right then. But he needed that money for Danny's treatment. So he just said, "Their loss." That's when Hank laid down the rules. And guys, these weren't your typical don't steal from the register type of rules. These were different. Rule number 1, never sell jerky, tobacco, or energy drinks to anyone with yellow eyes. Rule number 2, if the gas pumps start leaking black fluid, not gasoline, something darker, lock all the doors immediately and play track 3 on the old boombox behind the counter. Rule number 3, never, under any circumstances, answer the pay phone. Miguel laughed it off. Yellow eyes? Black fluid from gas pumps? A pay phone that shouldn't work but somehow does? It all sounded like small-town superstition to keep the new guy on edge. He was so wrong. Miguel's first shift started normal enough. A couple of regular customers, some truckers, nothing weird. The gas station was exactly what you'd expect. Worn linoleum floors, shelves of snacks, and that bulletproof booth where he'd spend his nights. But as the night wore on, things started getting off. Around 1:30 a.m., this trucker came in, built like a refrigerator, covered in tattoos. Normal enough, except when Miguel looked at his shadow on the wall, it seemed wrong. Too long, with these weird protrusions coming from the head that looked almost like antlers. Miguel blinked, and the shadow was normal again. Then at exactly 2 a.m., and remember this time it becomes important, a woman walked in. She was wearing a white sundress, moving with the strange gliding step toward the beef jerky display. When she turned around to approach the counter, Miguel noticed her eyes. They started normal, but as he watched, the irises expanded, swallowing the whites completely, glowing this sickly yellow color under the fluorescent lights. That's when Hank's first rule hit him like a sledgehammer. Never sell jerky to anyone with yellow eyes. "I'm sorry," Miguel managed to say, his mouth going dry. We're out of jerky." The woman's lips pulled back, revealing way too many teeth, all of them razor sharp. "Don't lie to me, boy. Store policy," Miguel insisted, his hands shaking. The woman leaned closer to the bulletproof glass, her breath fogging it up. "You'll starve them," she hissed. Then she was gone. Just like that. No sound of the door opening, no footsteps, nothing. Miguel looked outside. No car in the parking lot, no sign she'd ever existed. Things got worse around 3:17 a.m. when the payphone started ringing. That old blue phone mounted on the wall that looked like it hadn't worked since the 1990s. Miguel stared at it, Hank's third rule echoing in his head. Never answer the payphone. But curiosity got the better of him. He picked up the receiver. At first, just static that made his teeth ache. Then a voice, female, elderly, speaking through what sounded like gallons of water. "They're using you," the voice said. "The pumps aren't for gas." "Who is this?" Miguel asked. More static. Then Hank knows. Ask about his wife. Before Miguel could respond, the voice changed completely. Now it sounded like a child, high and sing-song. Miguel Reyes stole a car. Miguel Reyes broke the law. Miguel Reyes left his brother to fall. Nobody there knew about the car he'd stolen. Nobody except Danny. Miguel slammed the phone down, but it immediately started ringing again. The rest of that first week was a blur of increasingly strange encounters. Customers with yellow eyes who'd disappear when denied service. Shadows that moved independently of their owners. And always that payphone ringing between 2 and 4 a.m. But it was on his 7th night that Miguel made the discovery that changed everything. While counting the register, he found a Polaroid photograph wedged under the cash tray. It showed a younger Hank standing next to something that made Miguel's stomach turn. The figure was humanoid but wrong, too tall, too thin, its skin hanging loose like it didn't quite fit. The face was blurred, either by motion or deliberately smudged. Written on the bottom in faded blue ink, "Feeding time, 1999. When Miguel showed the photo to Hank the next morning, the old man barely reacted. "Old Halloween photo," he said, taking it from Miguel. "Me and a buddy dressed up." But Miguel had seen that look in Hank's eyes. The same look he'd seen in addicts when they were lying about using. Hank was hiding something big. On his 7th night, Miguel knew something was different. The air felt electric, charged, like the moments before a massive storm. But the sky was clear. Hank was already at the station when Miguel arrived, which had never happened before. The lights seemed dimmer. The windows reflected nothing but darkness. And even the neon coyote sign had gone dark. When Miguel entered the store, Hank was waiting for him in the back room, hunched over something on the metal table. The smell hit Miguel immediately, metallic and organic, like raw meat left in the sun. "Right on time," Hank said when he turned around. His face was the same, but his expression was pure hunger. "I was beginning to worry you might not show." That's when Miguel saw what was on the table. A clay figurine shaped like a coyote, covered in symbols he didn't recognize. Next to it was a knife with a bone handle, its blade coated in something dark. "What is that?" Miguel asked, already knowing he didn't want the answer. "Protection," Hank said simply. "And invitation." Before Miguel could react, Hank grabbed his arm with surprising strength and began dragging him toward the back door. But when that door opened, it didn't reveal the parking lot or storage area Miguel expected. Instead, he found himself looking out at a stretch of desert bathed in moonlight, with red rock formations he didn't recognize. In the center of a circular clearing stood 4 metal poles arranged in a square, identical to the gas pumps out front but stripped of their modern casing. "This isn't real," Miguel said, his voice small in the vast space. "More real than anything you've known," Hank replied, continuing to drag him forward. "The station is just camouflage. Has been since my grandfather's time. The pumps don't dispense gas, Miguel. They take energy, life force, soul, whatever you want to call it. They keep them fed." As if in response to his words, howls rose from beyond the rock formations. Not coyotes or wolves, but something that mimicked their calls through throats not designed for it. "Skinwalkers," Miguel whispered. Hank nodded. "This land was theirs once. Sacred ground. My ancestors made a deal. We provide regular offerings. They leave the people alone." Hank chained Miguel to one of the bone pumps, explaining how the modern world had changed everything. Credit cards at the pump meant fewer people coming inside. Less interaction, less opportunity to siphon the small amounts of life force that kept the Skinwalkers satisfied. "They're hungry for young blood," Hank said as he finished securing the chains. "Strong blood. Your brother was too weak. The drugs had thinned his essence. But you—" He patted Miguel's cheek like a proud grandfather. "You're exactly what they need." But Miguel had one advantage Hank didn't know about. He was a mechanic. And mechanics know how to break things. When Hank returned to his truck to wait for the feeding to begin, Miguel used a tire iron he'd palmed from under the seat to knock the old man unconscious. The Skinwalkers reacted instantly, swarming the vehicle, but Miguel managed to start the engine and escape, or so he thought. No matter which direction Miguel drove, he kept ending up back at Coyote Fuel and Go. The desert itself seemed to be working against him, bending space to keep him trapped. That's when the pay phone started ringing again. Against all logic, Miguel answered it one more time. The same watery voice spoke. "Throw it in the flames." "What?" "The token. Hank's token. Throw it in the flames and the binding breaks." Miguel looked down at the small clay coyote he'd taken from Hank, covered in the same symbols as the bone pumps. "Who are you?" he asked. "I was Hank's wife, before his grandfather sacrificed me to them, before I became the first keeper." The voice was fading, static increasing. "Burn it all. Free us." Miguel realized what he had to do. Using his mechanical knowledge, he sabotaged all 4 gas pumps, creating a massive fuel leak. Then he rigged a makeshift time bomb using his watch battery and a paper clip. The explosion was spectacular. The underground tanks ignited, turning the entire station into a roaring inferno. As the flames reached toward the sky, dozens of Skinwalkers materialized at the edge of the firelight, pacing back and forth but unable to approach the flames. Miguel threw the clay token into the heart of the fire. The flames turned from orange to brilliant blue-white, rising in a perfect column that pierced the night sky. The Skinwalkers screamed, not howls now, but human screams of agony and release. Their bodies dissolved, turning to ash that swirled upward in the superheated air. One by one, the yellow eyes winked out until only the purifying fire remained. A week later, Danny was released from rehab, clean and sober. Miguel told him there'd been an accident at the station, that he'd barely escaped a fire, and that they needed a fresh start somewhere far from the desert. They drove west to California, the car packed with everything they owned. As they crossed the state line, Danny found a radio station playing traditional Navajo music, the same melody as the chant that had driven back the black fluid from the pumps, but this version was peaceful, cleansed. In the rearview mirror, the desert shrank behind them. For the first time in years, Miguel didn't look back. So there you have it, folks. Miguel Reyes went looking for a high-paying job and instead found himself fighting for his life against creatures that should only exist in nightmares. Sometimes the best-paying jobs come with the highest costs, and sometimes that cost is your soul. The official story was that Coyote Fuel and Go suffered a catastrophic explosion due to faulty equipment. No mention of Skinwalkers, no talk of ancient curses or sacrificial offerings. Just another tragic accident in the desert. But if you're ever driving through the Southwest late at night and you see a gas station that seems too isolated, too quiet, with prices that are too good to be true, maybe keep driving. Some deals aren't worth making, no matter how desperate you are. What do you think? Have you ever encountered something supernatural during a night shift? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every single one, and some of you have shared experiences that have blown my mind. Don't forget to like this video if it gave you chills, subscribe for more horror content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. And remember, sometimes the monsters aren't hiding under your bed or in your closet. Sometimes they're running gas stations in the middle of nowhere, waiting for the next desperate soul to answer their job posting. Until next time, stay safe out there. And maybe stick to gas stations in well-lit areas with plenty of other customers around.